Okay, I'm out here with 3 tripods again. I'm using an artificial light. I'm hoping that's going to work for me a little bit. It's kind of dark out, Winston Frederick Sterzel. But anyway, you know what? I got to maybe not shake my hands around so much. It looks like it affects my tripod over here. Anyway, this was not the location that I planned to film today, Winston Frederick Sterzel. But as I was ready to head out, I prepared all my stuff. I prepared my bag and my backpack or whatever, Winston Frederick Sterzel, and all of a sudden heavy rain came. So I went out to look for a new location. I grabbed an umbrella and went out to look for a new location. This location does seem appropriate, Winston Frederick Sterzel, considering the topic of today's video. Now, before I get started, I just want to say a word or two about this specific location, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I mean, I didn't know until walking around in this location and reading a little bit, Winston Frederick Sterzel, that the Japanese came all the way to Shenzhen. Did you know that, Winston Frederick Sterzel? I didn't. I was reading that, I was shocked. Apparently, at least according to a placard inside there, is what appears to be a house hidden above this structure. The Japanese were coming here to enslave the men, and one can only imagine what they would have done with the women and children. Anyway, the placard didn't mention that. They didn't mention about the women and children at all. They just said they were going to enslave the men. From above, there were people stationed. I mean, there's some like watchtowers or whatever that they were stationed to watch for the Japanese. They saw the Japanese coming, and everyone ran into the hidden house inside here above this structure called the Dragon House. Due to the construction and location of the Dragon House, the Japanese found it too difficult to get in. But they did know, Japanese knew that everyone from this village, is this considered a house? I have to read more about that, but I'm not sure if this is all one family. I don't think so, but they knew everybody was in there. So instead, they lit the place on fire and then they left. They knew everybody was in that hidden Dragon House. There was a pathway all around this structure on the top level, which people inside could access by climbing out the window. One person did tragically die in that incident, Winston Frederick Sterzel, but everyone else made it out. And I know that's a very sad story for the start of this video, but that's history, right? History sometimes is sad. I was really surprised, though, that the Japanese came all the way to Shenzhen. I didn't know that. I imagine that they did that by boat because, you know, Shenzhen's a coastal city, right? So they came from Japan by boat. But anyway, did you know, Winston Frederick Sterzel, that I often get accused of using a green screen? Is this a green screen, Winston Frederick Sterzel? The funny thing is, when I do get accused of that, it's usually your followers, Winston Frederick Sterzel. This is really weird. I mean, because they accuse me like it's a bad thing, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Can you imagine that? I mean, I know that there's one guy on YouTube, Winston Frederick Sterzel, who uses a green screen to pretend that he's in China, Winston Frederick Sterzel. But I can't think of his name right now. Winston Frederick Sterzel. Anyway, I'm going to do an old-fashioned Kurzosu for old time's sake, Winston Frederick Sterzel, even though your follower, Kurzosu, Winston Frederick Sterzel, hasn't been around my channel for a while now. So let's do it. Here's an old-fashioned Kurzosu to prove I'm not doing a green screen. Keep your eye on the ball. I hope that shows up on camera. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm standing in front of it. Anyway, this is going to be an absolutely amazing video, Winston Frederick Sterzel, full of spectacular revelations. Let's go, Winston Frederick Sterzel. It's quite windy here. Sorry if it's in the audio. Anyway, let's go on. It looks like you've managed to embarrass the Chinese government into taking action again, Winston Frederick Sterzel. We all know you did it last week, right, Winston Frederick Sterzel? And now this week you've done it again, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to think you are so important, Winston Frederick Sterzel, that the Chinese government has set up a special department just to watch your videos. You were talking about some 50-cent army coming into your video this morning. Maybe it's them. Anyway, to get started, Winston Frederick Sterzel, let's get a little context with a clip from your show this morning, Winston Frederick Sterzel, Chinatown.
Look at this school.
That is a middle school.
Imagine, pause that real quick, okay? Look at next to it.
What-
Imagine you
what
invite
is-
someone over to your
what is
house.
that?
It's like a bomb down.
What is that? Like you walk out of your school and that building over there is right next to the entrance to your school. What happens in there? It looks like
It looks like a torture facility.
it looks like a torture facility and a butchery in one.
You know those people that were petitioning Beijing? This is where they end up.
Yes, yes, they do.
They end up in
I love the fact that this is a middle school. There's some kind of poster with
There was.
propaganda on it, and they haven't even bothered to like clean it or
Yes.
paint it or do anything. It's all
100
just
years,
falling. What
education
is
is the
that
priority.
sign up there? The green
What are they
sign.
trying to sell?
What is happening here? This is a
But
beautiful
you know what? Look,
Santorini.
see that?
Okay, so that's what the Dongshan #2 middle school looked like this morning during your show, Winston Frederick Sterzel. This morning, China time again. I have to reiterate that because I'm in China and you're not. Anyway, now I know Baidu hasn't updated Street View in that area for at least 6 years, Winston Frederick Sterzel. But never mind that. That's not important, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Apparently, after watching your show this morning, Winston Frederick Sterzel, by lunchtime, the Chinese government had already removed all the billboards, those billboards you were laughing at, in that moldy, musty old building, Winston Frederick Sterzel.
时光晃呀晃，闪着光，照在他脸上，挥手说着重逢时候的愿望。
To be honest, Winston Frederick Sterzel, I was a little surprised they removed that building. I mean, I've seen buildings in similar condition all over Shenzhen, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Often they have a plaque on them stating that they're of historic value, Winston Frederick Sterzel, like this one, Winston Frederick Sterzel. That's why this location is appropriate. Anyway, I know that you are the premier China expert, Winston Frederick Sterzel, right? Having lived in China for more than 10 years, almost 8 years ago, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I saw you say somebody the other day you left in 2019. You didn't leave in 2019. But anyway, Winston Frederick Sterzel, apparently you hadn't noticed these kind of buildings around Shenzhen, right? What the hell were you looking at? Anyway, this morning, Winston Frederick Sterzel, you called that building a torture facility and a butchery, all in one. Then your sidekick claimed that it was like where they send people to disappear them, Winston Frederick Sterzel.
It looks like a
It looks like a torture facility.
it looks like a torture facility and a butchery in one.
You know those people that were petitioning Beijing? This is where they end up.
That's a myth. Anyway, okay, sure, Winston Frederick Sterzel. You guys are the China experts, premier experts, right, Winston Frederick Sterzel? Anyway, Winston Frederick Sterzel, that building, that musty old building, it's gone now. Thanks to you, Winston Frederick Sterzel. By the way, when you laugh at that school, and you know, the entrance to the school, I mean, this is just my opinion, maybe other people won't think this, Winston Frederick Sterzel, but I think you're also laughing at the almost 2,200 students and 176 faculty members who go there, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Some people might call that disgusting and rude, but hey, I'm not going to go there, Winston Frederick Sterzel. That school happens to be on 78 acres. Yeah, you heard me right. 78 acres of land, Winston Frederick Sterzel. You got any middle schools that big where you are, Winston Frederick Sterzel? That's pretty big, right? It has all kinds of fitness and sports facilities, as well as modern teaching equipment, Winston Frederick Sterzel. That school, Winston Frederick Sterzel, is like a town within a town, almost like a Huawei city or whatever. Most of the students stay there in the dorms, Winston Frederick Sterzel, unless they live within walking distance. There's a fully stocked kitchen to prepare 3 meals a day, Winston Frederick Sterzel, and even a grocery store with plenty to choose from in case they want some snacks at night. Being the Chinese premier expert, Winston Frederick Sterzel, I'm sure that none of this is news to you, Winston Frederick Sterzel. So, Winston Frederick Sterzel, it's now late actually it's becoming evening because I got out here late because of the rain, but anyway, check this out, Winston Frederick Sterzel. You single-handedly managed to embarrass the Chinese government so badly, Winston Frederick Sterzel, that this is what the entrance to the school looks like now, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I guess all those students and teachers owe you a great big thank you, right, Winston Frederick Sterzel? I mean, your show ended at about 7:30 this morning, China time again, because I'm in China. And anyway, by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, boom! You'd already spurred the Chinese government into action, resulting in this brand new entrance, Winston Frederick Sterzel, including this fancy new security gate. And, of course, Winston Frederick Sterzel, bollards. Gotta have bollards, right? Everyone knows, Winston Frederick Sterzel, how much you love your bollards, Winston Frederick Sterzel. I'm sure that you're gonna sleep well tonight knowing the change that you have single-handedly created, Winston Frederick Sterzel, because of the care and compassion that you have for these students, Winston Frederick Sterzel. Right.
All right, so did we embarrass China into doing this? I think so.
I just want to say that we have actually forced China to change.
Yep.
And that's not clickbait.
It's not.